Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Digital Cypha Podcast. Me, your lovely, beloved host, Don CJG,
Beloved
and I have
host.
my two, my two amigos, Ebonics and Diozeos with me. This is episode 33. How we all doing?
Buenos dias, mi amigos. What is going on? I'm Ebonics. What's up, everyone? What's up, everyone?
I'm good. I am good. It's a humid afternoon. It's really hot, but also really grey. Very typical British summer. It's absolute blast. No, I'm joking. It's really not. I'm alright though. I'm doing all right.
Dio, Dio's into his ass. What's going on, man?
Hey, good morning, guys. Sorry, I had to turn off the alarm. Not that early, but I guess early enough to have an alarm on the house.
See, this guy, he needs an alarm. So he knows when the podcast actually starts because he gets deep into the game. Man,
Dio gets sucked into those games, bro.
When was it? He was playing some other joint. I don't know if it was World of Warcraft or something else, and he was just like,
Yeah, he was playing WoW.
he just forgot, man. And we over here just twiddling our fingers, be like, okay, Dio, anytime now, let it go, AFK, something. Yeah, what's going on,
I
Dio?
respect the hustle, man.
It's that immersion. Good. Discovered another game. My time at Porsche, definitely a lot more interesting than I thought it was gonna be.
Awesome.
Yeah, I've seen you been playing that for the last couple of days. This guy's gone in.
Oh yeah, you know how you know it's a good game is when you start over a game over and over because you oh man, I could have did it better. Like I've done that a few times already with this game.
Oh wow.
That's pretty cool. I gotta look into that. I always see it and then I just, bypass it. I've never really, embraced it, if you know what I'm saying. So definitely gotta check that out.
Oh, for sure. I did the same exact thing. I finally slept in. I was like, you know what? Let me just do it. I got into the character creator, and I was like, oh, I really don't like how this character looks. I was like, I'm deleting this game. I was like, just try it. Let's see if it's actually good. Played it. I was like, oh man, I don't even care about how my character looks. I see from the back anyway.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. I don't know, man. I've been dabbling into some games on my end. Still hitting up the MLB The Show. Trying to get my character out of the 30 percentage overall. Player score. So what they have is like these different levels of attributes, right? And everybody's in the 30s. There's like a few in the 40s. So I don't even know when I'll make it out of the minor leagues into the major leagues. Yeah, so I mean, this is my first time playing it, and it's awesome because it's on Game Pass. So being able to play it on the Xbox is awesome, definitely awesome. But the Don CJG Master Chief Halo Collection.
Oh, dude. Well, you know what? It's been a bit of a busy week for work. So I only get to play like an hour or so when I get back. But I think Season 7 launched, a week and a half ago? And out of the 100 points, I'm already 61 in. So I had a lot of points saved over. So, it wasn't too bad. I could just kind of do that. But I also jumped into a couple other games. Doom Eternal, the next gen patch came, and it looks so good. So obviously I bought the DLC because I was waiting for the next gen patch to come. I bought the DLC.
There was a thing about that. So Doom Eternal with that patch, of course, the Xbox has smart delivery, but it seems to be a pain for the PlayStation 4 or 5 conversion. Have you seen anything about that?
I did see something, but I think it also comes down to why smart delivery is great. Smart delivery just works. But I think Sony've always had these kind of issues. I think same thing with Avengers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just the whole cross, I think, just didn't really work. So
Well, we also got to consider the fact that I think you can play it on xCloud now.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's
yeah,
you don't even need
yes.
to download
Oh,
it.
speaking of xCloud as well, that launched on iPhones and whatnot this
Yeah,
week, and
Apple tried to
I've been
do
jumping on
something.
that.
Yeah, Apple tried to do something with the what is it, Play Store? No, not Play Store. That's Google. With
App
the
Store.
App Store, yeah, because Microsoft wanted to put their platform in the actual App Store, the Game Pass, like the app that's on the Android, and the amount of money that Apple will be taking out, you know, on a on a certain basis, they went
Yeah.
for the browsers, so. You can play in Safari, you can play in Edge, you can play in Firefox, you can play in Windows Edge. Think I said that, and Google Chrome, just to name a few. I haven't checked Brave.
Yeah.
There, I heard it's DuckDuckGo, but I'm not. I don't know how popular that browser is either. But it'll be interesting to see the numbers on that. How many concurrent players are on xCloud? But yeah.
Yeah, I've been liking it, man. Like, I don't know if it's just me. I feel like maybe Wi-Fi in Britain isn't great, but playing on a wireless connection, it's not amazing for me, at least. But I did get through like a level in Minecraft Dungeons, pretty alright. But if I'm planning to play like an FPS or something,
mhm.
it's still a bit choppy. But maybe that's just my connection. You know what I mean? But it's been fun, and I think evolving over time, it'll be a bit better.
Do you have 5G connection in your area?
I don't have 5G in my mobile device, but they did just put up a 5G tower like a couple streets away. So
Because I think that was one of the prerequisites during the beta was that to utilize a 5G bandwidth of sorts, especially from your Wi-Fi, to get a stable level of gameplay. Now, that's a little bit much, because we also had this conversation a while back, a couple episodes ago, where we kind of wondered how that's going to play for people in third world countries, whose internet is not on that level. 5G is 5G worldwide, or is 5G in like the major
I
cities?
don't think so. They only
You know what I'm
started rolling
saying?
out like a year or two ago, right?
Yeah.
So
Gotcha. But still, it is a major accomplishment. And it's kind of weird that they use that as a way to get around Apple, and now it's becoming. There's Game Pass and then there's xCloud. It's almost like two separate platforms, but they exist together because they serve the same games, right?
yeah.
So then the question would be, do we need an Xbox?
Well, at a minute, I think, yeah. I mean, I think even Phil Spencer said it himself. It's like playing on a console is always gonna be the best way to do it, right?
Right.
But I think as 5G gets rolled out more and internet connections get a bit better over the years, I feel like this is gonna become a better option. Obviously, like I think Xbox even said themselves, like it's still in its infancy stages. xCloud's only been around for a year or two at most. I think as the platform evolves and hardware gets better and infrastructure gets better, it'll be even better than it is already.
Yeah.
But hearing the stories, I've never heard anything overtly negative about xCloud. So I assume it's working decently for people.
Gotcha. Dio,
Yes, sir.
what you had some things specifically that you wanted to talk about. What you got over there?
Oh, it's a mixed bag. There's some good, there's some bad. And also depends on your opinion about it. But something that's I think universally good. I don't think anyone can say anything bad about this, but maybe a few people. Diablo had a quarterly update for June,
Okay.
and it was mostly about the art direction that it was going in, and it looks nice. It looks good. I mean, it was already looking good, but this kind of validated what everybody wanted from the game. We want like more of a dark game, where Diablo 3, it was a a good looking game for its time, but the art style was a little too bright. It was a little too colorful. Where this is definitely gritty and dark, and that's what Diablo's about, right? Like Diablo 1 and 2 are like borderline horror, in an action RPG game. And these armor sets that they were showing for each class, and also like the different monsters as well,
Yeah.
was just like, this is what we want. Thank you. You're listening. You know. I could link that inside so people could check that out
Definitely.
because it's definitely worth looking at. It was definitely very great art going on.
There had this thing. Was it Shadowrun or some kind of DLC? Is it a racing part for a while? I might be wrong here, but it looks like some form of event is happening this month for a while. And I've never it looks like a racing type of thing. Is that, would you say that would be the case?
9.1 launched. I'm not sure about racing event itself,
I have to
but
I have to look for that now. Cause it's dang. It was it's coming out, and they have people in the UK and America
My people.
yes, your people across the pond. I think it's it's 100. What's the money? I think it's is in the millions, or I think either the thousands or the millions. There's a prize pool pretty much for
Okay.
it. So let me find that, and now I'll let you know. I gotta look for it
Uh,
now because.
I'm not sure, but like if it's Blizzard related and there's a prize pool like for a prize and stuff, I would
Yeah.
imagine it's for Overwatch.
Nah.
I don't think it's WoW.
Nah.
I mean, they do have tournaments where they give money too, but I mean, Overwatch definitely makes more money when it comes to that.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna look for that. What else you got though?
Definitely- I mean, if we're talking about World of Warcraft, they just
Mhm.
announced a new in-store mount, which
Mhm.
everyone is very upset about.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like the WoW community is not very happy with an in-game store in their game that they already pay $15 a month to play, and they buy every expansion for. Um, it's I wouldn't even say it's just that, right? Because I mean, you could look at Final Fantasy 14, and it's a similar experience when it comes to what you're paying for, right? You're buying each game, you're buying each DLC, you're paying for subscription, and they both have in-game stores that have cosmetic items in it. There's nothing that's pay to win on either side of them, except for like you could argue maybe the boost on both sides. But Final Fantasy 14 fans are happy. I won't say that they're happy to have an in-game store, but I don't think any of them are really as upset about it as you look at WoW fans. But I think it's also because currently we finally got our first patch for the latest expansion just like 9 months later. That's ridiculous. I mean, imagine,
Oh, wow.
yeah, playing a game for 9 months with no new content, and you're just recycling the same crap every day for 9 months, right?
Oh, my.
Yeah, so this is another thing that made people upset, especially because how they launched it was not directly in the game store. They tied it to the 6 month subscription plan. So if you got the 6 month subscription plan, which is fine, I mean, some people are probably going to get that anyway. But it's almost like they're kind of leading you on, like, hey, if you buy the 6 month subscription, you were probably about to like just let your sub run out because you're pissed off about this 9 month drought. But hey, we'll give you this free mount. You pay for a 6 month subscription, and maybe we'll give you new content in the next 6 months also. You know, like it's kind of carrot on the stick that a lot of people are not very happy about. You could even look at the World of Warcraft main YouTube site, and like the dislike ratio is ridiculous. Like right now, it's sitting at 1K likes and almost 6K dislikes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Ooh.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so people are not happy about that. Very happy about Diablo 4 news. Like I said, like you look at the art of it, very good stuff. Like especially the enemies, like the Blood Bishop. Like it was like this like ghoul that's like like floating, and like he's just made of like flesh. Like it looks gross. It looks like body horror kind of monster. It looks awesome. And then you have like the Skeleton Lord. He looks pretty cool too. Like it's like an undead mage. And oh man, there was this other thing. What was it called? I don't remember what it was called, but it looked like a human's body that was freshly killed, but spider was like infecting it and like inserting its like eggs in it. So like
Oh, that's horrible.
it looks so good. Like it was missing a
That's
head, and you see a bunch of holes. It looks so like this is the stuff that we want to see in Diablo. Like Diablo is supposed to scare you. Diablo is. I remember when I was a kid and I wanted Diablo, and my mom looked at it like, "No, I'm not getting you that." Like that's what you want with Diablo. You want parents to say, "No, you're not getting that." Or Diablo 3 is not that, right? Like I remember
Yeah.
my little brother getting Diablo 3 when it first launched. Like, dude, when I wanted Diablo 1, you wouldn't get it from me. You know,
Dude, I walked out
going
my
back to
room
the
the other day and I saw a spider and I was horrified. Tiny little spider. Like, I opened the door and it started running away. I closed the door, walked back in. I was like, I'm
You
not
should play
taking
Grounded.
part.
I
Oh,
was
no,
thinking
thank
the
you.
same thing too.
Oh, thank you. And
Yo,
this guy's
Grounded.
got like, Gio's gonna chase me with his spider character.
Oh man.
Diablo, like, I'm not playing.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Definitely check it out. I mean, I think you would definitely like it, Ebonics. Like just seeing like where they're going with the art direction. It might not be your thing because you're not into like the demonic stuff, but I think like the amount of detail that they put into it is pretty cool, especially with the lighting and everything. It's just awesome.
The cinematic feel that it has, I'm assuming.
Oh no, this is like in-game character models,
Okay. Nice.
and they look
nice.
good. Yeah, they look good.
The so what it was on my end. So I'm gonna read this. World of Warcraft players entering the fabled Shadowlands will find the realm of the dead in upheaval. Under the normal order, departed souls were delivered to a realm appropriate to the lives they led, but now all souls are being funneled into the maw, where the most wicked are damned to suffer for eternity. So the Shadowlands is some form of an event that is happening in July. It mentions something about circuit. So the following hard fought Shadowlands Season 1 top 16 teams across North America and Europe are gearing up for Season 2 circuit and their share of $160,000 global prize pool. They'll compete for a 4-week round robin beginning on July 31st via YouTube, and with the top 4 teams in each region advancing to the Shadowlands 2021 Grand Finals for a shot at standing as the best PvP teams in all of Shadowlands for $300,000 prize pool. I think there was something actually posted in the Discord about that.
It's a heavy chunk
Okay,
of change.
that's just an arena tournament. That's
Okay.
I mean, Shadowlands has been out for a while. That's the DLC. This is just a arena tournament that's happening during the, Shadowlands. I did hear about that, but like
Yeah.
you confused me when you said the circuit. Like it's like circuit.
Yeah, they said circuit, and then when I saw circuit and I looked at the picture and I had 2 people on top of mounts, I was like, "This is this racing?"
No, definitely not
Yeah.
racing.
Yeah, I was like, when did
Why is it?
World of Warcraft have racing? You know, that was just my thoughts. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it's
cool.
an arena tournament. I mean, it'll definitely be worth watching. I mean, their tournaments I think are pretty good, but it's definitely hard to follow if you're not familiar with WoW PvP. So you could be watching it and you see a bunch of spell effects and you're like, what's going on? You know? So
Yeah.
it could be interesting. You could check it out. I mean, you have enough experience with Final Fantasy 14 that you might find it interesting, but
Nah,
you might
get
still be a
whooped.
little lost.
Get whooped in PvP. I'm telling you, son.
Oh
Get
no,
killed.
yeah, no doubt. I mean, while PvP, like there's so many sweaty tryhards in that game, man. Like it's almost not worth getting into arena unless you're one of those kind of people too, because there's just so many people who get so upset about it, even if they're not in a tournament that's for money. Like they just get so mad if they
Wow.
lose.
Gotcha,
Yeah.
gotcha. Bobby Light, thank you very much for subscribing. Awesome. Definitely hit us up. You know, the chat is up and running. So here's something. There's a little bit of confusion going on. So we understand that, you know, Sony was doing some backlash responses to Microsoft's paying or buying of acquisitions. I mean, it wasn't a backlash. It's more like they just playing it off like, hey, you know, they got money, they're just throwing it around and stuff. And I'm like,
Yeah.
like, yo, like who is Sony to talk though? You know, because they purchased a Somniac and they just purchased Something House. I forgot their name. But you know what I'm talking about, the Returnal guys.
I will try to
Yeah.
I'll try to remember the name of them.
They purchased.
Blue Point and someone else, right?
Yeah. Oh, well, the thing
Blue
about
Point
it is
wasn't announced. Yeah.
Blue Point was accidentally put on blast by the I guess the marketing in Japan or something. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
And Blue Point made it a point to update their status to say that they're fully independent, you know, on Twitter. But again, I'm just wondering, maybe you guys can enlighten me on this, is why do you think that Sony is now trying to advertise this heavily? And I mean, it's nowhere close to the purchases that Microsoft has done. But and I read here, this is coming from one of the guys at Studio. He says, we're very selective about the developers that we bring in. Our last new acquisition was Insomniac. That was $229 million in 2019, which has worked out very well. I'm also looking for people that has a similar set of values, similar creative ambitions, and work very well with our team that we can further invest in and help grow as creators. It's not like we're going around and just making random acquisitions.
Yeah, that was the bit what I found quite funny. They made it seem like Microsoft is just buying stuff for whatever reason, right?
I mean,
Yeah.
it came across that way, but like when you hear that, you know, being that you've played, that like we've all been, you know, on the Xbox tip, maybe, you know, I mean, from the 360 days. What comes to mind when you hear that versus what you're experiencing right now with the Game Pass and with the available content that Microsoft Xbox has provided?
Well, I feel like what they're doing there, that I don't think that comment is meant for Xbox fans, right? Because you don't, at least a Xbox fan who has no idea about Sony's history, right? Because they're looking at their like Sony fans who have been there long term, and they're like kind of doing damage control. A Sony fan doesn't have an idea that, you know, one of the first console games that they ever did for Bethesda was on Xbox, the old original Xbox with Morrowind, where you have a bunch of Sony fans now who are like, hey, why is Microsoft buying Bethesda, and what are we supposed to do? Where Sony's kind of trying to make it look like Microsoft is just buying a random company. Like, no, Microsoft, as well as other, you know, companies, have a long history with Bethesda. But when you look at where they started with, obviously it was the PC, but their first console was on the Xbox. So it's not like it's just something that was blindly bought. It's not something that they had a long relationship with.
Right.
It's just kind of to throw shade in a way where Sony fans, or at least the hardcore fans, can have a way to just say, oh, well, you know, they're just buying it because they had the money. They're just going to buy whoever. There's not like there's actually any kind of relationship there. They just had the money to do it, where Sony's is making a relationship with these people before they buy it. And I think you could argue maybe Microsoft does that to an extent, but I think there's definitely proof that it has relationship with these companies first before they buy them.
Right.
You know?
Well, and you make very valid points there, because what bothers me a little bit, and I would go into another statement here, with Sony, and this was part of an article, it says that a studio proves it can deliver strong console exclusives, and then it decides to integrate them into the first party network. This is on Sony's side, right? And we've seen this happen. I mean, look at Insomniac. Insomniac has always been a PlayStation, studio, even though they were third party, and they did do that one game for Xbox,
Sunset Overdrive.
Sunset Overdrive. Even when you look at that, Sunset Overdrive, now owned by Sony, the copyright has been written out for Sunset Overdrive to become perhaps an exclusive to Sony because Insomniac still owns the IP, right?
Hmm.
So I'm looking at it as, Microsoft has had this relationship with Bethesda even before the original Xbox, probably before Dreamcast, you know, because of course they've been releasing games on PC. Now, the other part is that there are people who are downplaying the studios that have been acquired. And I find it interesting because the only people that they can technically qualify, to be, kind of new and not know what they do. To me, any studio that's out there in the AAA, they're better than me. I'm trying to make a game here, you know what I'm saying? And I'm still trying to make the day and night cycle happen, you know what I'm saying? But they got like 300 people, and the only team that I think is still proving itself to me would be 343 Industries, right? And we're gonna know come the Halo Infinite. But outside of that, every other studio in the Microsoft Game Studios library of devs or of studios, whatever, have proven games.
Mm-hmm.
It might not be the games that we would want to play, but they have a huge community, right? Look at Undead Labs, right? And the game that they brought out, one of the zombie games they brought out, right?
AMDK.
Huge. It has a huge community for that. World's Edge has our Age of Empires, another huge community. PC only. I wish they would come to Xbox. You know what I'm saying? I mean, but like Dio said the other day, there's just too many mechanics in there for one simple controller to handle.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I think they could do it. It just will be is there enough of a buyer out there for the game? I think that's what they're looking at. Is there enough people who play RTS games on the Xbox?
Well, here's a question. Do you think the Coalition as a studio has proven itself? Because they have only been doing Gears of War. I think they may be working on a new game, hopefully, for
believe they are,
Unreal Engine 5. You believe they are? We're looking.
And there was an interview
Ooh.
with somebody. They believe it was Jeff Grubb talking about a coalition project that they have planned for 2023.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they are working. I think they've even said they're working something outside of Gears too.
Yeah.
So I think you'll see a lot more versatility in that studio in a couple of years. Obviously, taking a break from Gears to Gears 6 now, I think it's gonna be an opportunity for them to kind of dip their toe into something else.
Well, they're supposed to have a Unreal Engine 5 reveal this month, within somewhere in the 20s, like from the 20th to maybe the end of July. Something's supposed to be happening, so that's going to be a definite look to see what happens there. But then you can't say anything about the Initiative. Initiative has the best of the best around the world, right? And then they presented Perfect Dark reboot. I would think it's a reboot, and nobody can deny that game does not look good. It looks real nice. Rare stands out with the Sea of Thieves, huge community, now ridiculously on Steam.
Yeah, I mean that game started out in a, not an amazing place. It's still an alright game. The foundations are still there, but you look at the U-turn they did with that game, considering where it was to where it is now. It's huge. It reminds me of Rainbow Six Siege. Came out a bit, but then it's really grown and blossomed into something like it's kind of like a modern cult classic at this point.
For sure.
I just find it kind of weird that Xbox players have accepted the fact that PlayStation has a solid team of studios, but when it comes down to the studios that are a part of Microsoft, It just seems as though nobody's really taking the dive to look at what's going on per studio and then really shining a light. I know there's some things that are kept secret, of course, but I mean, ZeniMax is now the Vault, I believe, the name. Each one of those have an exclusive. I mean, we saw during the E3. I mean, Redfall still comes to my mind because that's just, it's almost like, what's the name? The characters for Fortnite, you know, they have that Fortnite feel, you know, as far as color is concerned, color wise, not really gameplay, but color wise, they just have like a Fortnite kind of look with with some serious gunplay and, you know, special, you know, abilities and that and Avowed is I've been playing you know what, I've been playing that one game, Pillars of Eternity. And okay. I can see how Avowed is gonna be so crazy. I mean, Halo is a game that you can take anywhere, right? You can make it into anything, right? It can be like how you have Magic the Gathering cards. You can make it that game if you wanted. You know what I'm saying? You can. It has its RTS. It has its top-down shooter. You know, of course, first person, right? So Halo is so bold and broad as far as a franchise that it can be anything in a game. And when I look at Pillars of Eternity, there is so much substance in that game. I mean, the way how the game plays may not be for everyone, right? But just the lore and the story is ridiculous, that it can go anywhere. And I'm very interested in seeing what I think is Bethesda, right? Who's doing Avowed?
That's Obsidian.
Obsidian.
Yeah, Obsidian.
Yeah. I would be so interested to see how you as a character is portrayed. Are you custom created? Are you a watcher who is able to see people's past lives? You know, or are you a simple person who is fighting hordes of monsters and demons and everything else to get to bring, you know, a continent to its latter days, you know, where it was peaceful. I mean, who knows? But that Avow is a big question mark, because they can do anything with the lore that already exists within Pillars of Eternity. Whew, that was a long statement. But anyways,
I honestly think the biggest interesting thing about Avowed is going to be when you look at Avowed, especially when you look at Avowed before the whole Bethesda acquirement, it was pretty much like direct competition to Elder Scrolls 6.
Exactly.
Now that we have Elder Scrolls 6, which is most likely going to be exclusive, Elder Scrolls 6, Avowed, Sony's going to have to actually get one of their devs to make their own counter to it. They have to, because then their fan base is not going to have an open world RPG.
Yeah,
like that.
Western RPG. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys will listen to his. I know Phil Spencer's been on a kind of press run post E3, and he kind of talked about Avowed a little bit. And I think he kind of did a comparison towards Elder Scrolls, and he said, you know, whilst they're both, you know, these open world RPGs, it does feel like they're not quite direct competition. I feel like the way he kind of put it is, at least the way I understood it, was Avowed's kind of bit more untraditional compared to what you're going to see in Elder Scrolls.
Oh, for sure. But I mean, if Xbox didn't have a Bethesda, then it would just be, you know, rivals out of, you know, pure, you know. But I don't know. It's gonna be pretty cool to have both of them.
I mean, let's just be real. I mean, they're both they both have dragons in it. They both do magic. You know, hopefully Avowed has third person perspective, because it showed you in first person. So, but either or, when you here's the thing, and I'm drawn back to Pillars of Eternity, because when you look at the guy's hand, on one side he has a sword, and on the other hand it looks like he has this magic. In Pillars of Eternity, when you talk to a person, there's this purple aura that surrounds your TV screen. And the saying goes, and you reach out to interact with his soul. You feel a tug to the soul of the person. So you have the option to read the past life of the person, the NPC that's in the game. Yeah. And some of those ends up being side quests, and some of those ends up just being like just lore within the world that happened before you even existed. There was a war, countries fought, this and that happened, and it showed what those specific NPCs did during the war. One saw his complete battalion died, and then he ran away. He did not even stay, you know what I'm saying? He ran for his life, to save his own life, instead of being, the honorable soldier and dying with his comrades, whatever. He got scared and ran away. Another person jumped off a cliff. All these things are happening, and like almost every NPC that you can touch and see their past life has a specific story relating to the overall lore. And I wonder if the character in the Vow has that. So that's why I'm interested, because if that happens in a third person perspective, that is going to be crazy. I want to see like a vision. You know what I'm saying? Like you walking in somebody's vision and you see like hell break loose and you're experiencing it. This is medieval time, of course, but you're experiencing somebody's past life, and you can then puzzle the present situation based on somebody else's experience before they died. That would be so crazy. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm done. Like that's the second time I mentioned it. I don't know. but you see what I'm saying, though. It can go anywhere. It is pretty nice.
Mm-hmm. I think this is back to your original question a little bit, and kind of what Theo said. I think it is a case of Sony's kind of doing damage control with their studio acquisitions, the way they're talking about it.
Yeah.
I look at Xbox's studios. We got a lot of studios now, but there's a lot of versatility between them. And I think, without playing the Sony games, I can only give an outsider's perspective on it. But I feel like there's not a lot of hype around the Sony studios because a lot of them kind of sit within the same genre. It's not.
Exactly.
At least to me, I don't really feel like they've been an acquisition in recent history, or history I know of, that's kind of like, oh, that's a big studio. I know they've just bought House Marquee.
House Marquee. Yeah.
Allegedly Blue Point, and Insomniac a couple of years ago. I sort of feel like there wasn't a Ninja Theory level or a ZeniMax level kind of acquisition what Sony's done. That's why I feel like there's not really any excitement around.
Hold off about that, because in Exile wasn't big when Microsoft bought them. Mm-hmm. They grew.
Yeah, so you think Sony want to nurture it into something bigger.
And see, that's the thing too, because based on that statement, Sony wants you to prove yourself before they bring you into the family. I mean, I think Mafia style, right? Like, you want to be a part of us, you got to make the money. You gotta do the work, make us proud of you, and then we'll bring you in. And on the other side, Microsoft is looking at, how unique is the studio, when they
what do they bring to the table?
Yeah, because Microsoft, I believe, is thinking on diversity of games, and how they are cross-platform or cross-genre, right? I see where you're coming from when he said that when Sony purchases a studio, it seems that they follow a specific route. I mean, cinematics and blockbuster, stories and stuff like that is awesome. But would you say, have you played God of War? Mm-hmm. And then have you played like what's the name, Nathan Drake?
I've not owned a Sony console since the PlayStation 2.
Dang, bro.
I just never got a PS3 and never continued from there.
So I can see your point from the outside perspective, but I wonder the mechanics and how systematic, these games are on the inside, because God of War open world, cool. God of War used to be a side scroller, right? At one point, was it always?
Some other games were, but I mean, you could even argue the 3D games were pretty much side scrollers because they were so linear, right? So, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, Sony knows what their fan base wants for the most part, and I mean, if they're content with, heavy narrative games that are linear, that make you feel like you complete something, then that's what they want. I mean, one of my best friends, he was always like a Nintendo fanboy. That's all he ever did was buy Nintendo systems, and that's it. So this was like one of his big first system acquisitions that was outside of Nintendo. So he went with the PS5. And at first he was very upset with it, but now he's actually enjoying it because he does like these stories that he's completing. And I think it also depends on the customer, right? Like when you're someone who's older and you just kind of want to get something done, right? It's easier to enjoy games like that because you don't feel like you have to do the daily grind in a game too, right? Where when you play a lot of these online games, when you have to like finish this battle pass or you got to do these daily quests or whatever the thing is.
Yeah, it's about player retention rather than actual.
Yeah, especially because it'll feel more like another job when you're already coming home from a job. You're like, I don't want to do that.
Right.
This is why Halo is gonna be great.
Oh yeah, for sure. So I mean, it depends. But I definitely agree that most of the companies that Sony is getting kind of go in that direction. Not that they only have those type of games, but the majority are. But that's I think what their fans like. But also you gotta even look at it from a different perspective when it comes to just the wallet size, right? I mean, the reason why Xbox has this flexibility is because they had Big Daddy Microsoft to back them up with the wallet, right? I mean,
that is true.
Just the infinite.
Sony doesn't. Yeah, I mean, Sony has to be giving them a way smaller budget compared to Microsoft to Xbox.
But you have to also consider the fact, right, that Xbox wouldn't have even been able to accomplish the purchase of Bethesda without the success of Game Pass, because Game Pass existed 3 years before the purchase. I would say 3 to 4 years. When I think Game Pass existed maybe when the Xbox One X came out.
Yeah, it was around 2017.
Oh, I'm not saying that. Well, I'm not saying that Xbox hasn't improved itself.
What I'm saying is that in order for Microsoft to get involved, they had to have some form of substance that like Xbox having a monetary value, right? So Game Pass before the acquisition made so much, right? And it was acceptable. They can see a sustaining value of Xbox as a brand, not really the console, but as a brand becoming something more, right? So then Bethesda came in, Exile came in, Compulsion Games came in, Obsidian comes in. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like, okay, now we're seeing like let's just say 100,000 people on Game Pass. It's got to be more than that, right? At $15 a pop. You know what I'm saying? That by itself sustains without Microsoft. You know what I mean?
For sure.
So
yeah, like I said, I'm not saying that Xbox didn't earn it, but in the end of the day, they do have more money, and Sony's just never gonna have that wallet size that Xbox has.
Gotcha.
Even if they are the highest selling console, like Sony's other streams of revenue are not near the same as Microsoft.
Gotcha. Well, I'm just looking at it from the perspective that what has Sony done? No, sorry. What has PlayStation done for Sony to feel that they need to invest outside of competing with Microsoft? Because if Microsoft didn't do anything, I don't think we would have seen any acquisitions. You know what I'm saying? Like Sony would be like,
not that size, yeah, no way.
Like, why would we buy, Insomniac? Why would we buy, the devs of Returnal? They're already a part of us. They're already exclusive. There's no point. But to see Xbox on the level that it is, and then Microsoft is kind of like, that's my son. Go forth and make more games.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, then it's kind of like, damn, you know what I'm saying? So
I guess
and
I just look at it a little different because to me, PlayStation is Sony's biggest thing. So they have to. I mean, they definitely want to diversify, right? So they can always have other things to fall back on. But I mean, I don't think anyone can argue that anything on Sony's like revenues is bigger than PlayStation. I think
right.
without PlayStation, they would have went bankrupt like years ago.
They probably would have. I mean, that's we can't deny that Sony has been the breadwinner. I mean, PlayStation has been the breadwinner for Sony. From our
Yeah.
perspective, outside of the music industry, I would hope.
Yeah, well, yeah. Well, this is the thing. I think Microsoft and Xbox are kind of tied into that software, hardware kind of
Mm-hmm.
world. While you look at Sony, they're a lot more into entertainment,
Mm-hmm.
movies, music, and obviously now gaming. So I think it's a bit, and I, I look at it as wherever you go, you're probably gonna run into something like Windows. You know what I mean? Like most computers run Windows
Oh yeah,
at this
forget
point,
it.
right?
Yep.
But when you're looking at movies and music, Sony don't have their hand in everything. So I feel like naturally Microsoft's money pit is bigger and they can afford to kind of make bolder moves and invest more into Xbox to grow that platform. But I feel like obviously Sony don't really have, not that they don't have money to do it, but I feel like they have to be a lot more kind of precarious about what they're putting money into.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing, especially when they see they don't really have a subscription model that is exactly like Game Pass yet, right? Like they're trying to build one up, but until it takes off, and I think that's the problem with a lot of these other companies too, right? Like everyone's trying to do the Netflix thing, but no one's really getting really good at it yet. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Well,
So that's
I
that's
think
the thing.
the thing about with the Netflix thing, I think Microsoft purposely objected to use Netflix as a strategy because I mean I get it. Netflix, they produce films, right, with everyone around the world, and they carry the name by Netflix when you see them, right? Um, but the thing that comes across to me, which is very interesting, and a small segue is I just began to understand what Xbox Game Studio Publishing actually meant. And I'm wondering if those people are involved in why we see a lot of indie devs getting into Game Pass, because their whole purpose is to make, I believe that their purpose is to speak with the indie devs and get them in places where they can best sell and become visible and grow with the Xbox economy.
Oh, for sure.
Whereas PlayStation doesn't have that. They don't. I don't think now is not known from what I've been trying to find. I think it's just PlayStation. There's a division in PlayStation that's still called PlayStation that they answer to and they have to abide by whatever. But for a dedicated group of a publishing group within the Xbox ecosystem to reach out to you and say, hey, you're able to do this, you're able to do that, let us know when you're ready and we'll put you where you need to be so you can start making sales and people can find you and then you get the reviews you want. To me, that's substantial. Definitely. I just wonder why Sony is not on that level. I mean, I guess we've heard about the devs and how they're coming across as not satisfied. What did you guys get out of that?
Yeah. Like you said, I think you look at Xbox Game Studios and Idea Xbox and whatnot. I put it down to infrastructure within the Xbox foundations, right? If you look at the work they've done over the years, introducing ID, introducing Game Studios as a big family, introducing Game Pass, it's all interwoven. I feel like with Sony not having options for these smaller developers, these guys who are making indie games, they're all kind of shoveled into one just storefront of this is the PlayStation Store. You're going up against whatever game, and there's no unique opportunity for you to as a smaller developer kind of get the exposure what's appropriate to you. So if you want to advertise yourself or put yourself forward, you'll be paying all the big money like everyone else is, and you might not be able to financially provide that.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, I think inherently Xbox's works better because of Game Pass. I mean, I
Mhm.
think I think indie devs would still do well. I think indie devs could do well on all platforms because there's plenty of people who want to play these games, right? They're really fun to play in between big AAA games. But Game Pass just makes it so much easier to get into these games because first of all, if you're paying that subscription and you see an indie game, you're like, well, I don't know the company, but you know what, I'll give it a try. And then once you play that game and it goes off of Game Pass, you're like, you know what, I really like the game, so I'm gonna buy it. Or you see they come out with a new game, you're like, you know what, I like their other game I played on Game Pass. This is not Game Pass yet, but you know what, I'll give it a try because it did a great job. Where
Mhm.
because I can't just say that the Game Pass is the main reason why it's doing well because I mean you look at the Switch and I mean even a lot of these devs have even posted information like validating this like indies do the best on the Switch, like they do so well, and I could tell you the main reason why is because they're always on sale. Like every time I turn on my Switch there's a sale and it's always these indie games, and which is fine if because at the end of the day the indies developers are the ones who are deciding, hey, we want to put our games on sale, which I think is the big problem from what I gathered also for PlayStation. Like the process just to get your game on a sale is is terrible. Like if you want to put your game on sale, it's like you got to go through so many hoops because like Sony just doesn't want to let devs decide that. Besides the fact that you don't get any like extra marketing, right? Like where AAA games will like on even on Xbox you'll see like this big game that's launching in like a few months, like because of the advertisement right there on your home screen. Sony does the same thing,
Mm-hmm.
but no one's really doing that for the small devs. But at least if they had sales, people would kind of give it a second look, like they do on the Switch.
Mhm.
Yo, and that price, 25 grand though, like,
Oh my
Right.
God,
that's steep
That's a big number,
That's
man.
crazy. Yeah,
just to be
there's
on
no
the
way.
store.
Yeah,
You know,
it makes no sense at all.
It's a really big number.
so a dev wants to be on top, like not to be on top, but wants to be in a PlayStation store and be featured, right? That's 25 grand. And
That's
then
crazy.
they've made their game to be multi-platform, so they also have to pay that price.
Yep.
That's
Yeah.
that's
Or you
crazy.
want your game to be crossplay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
that's
there's that
crazy.
too, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Right. I feel like I don't want to speak ill and say Sony's environment isn't pro dev. They don't want people to put their games. So like they want to make money, put their games onto the storefront. But I feel like it's not a friendly environment to do so. And if you're kind of not supporting your developers to actually make money and be on your store, promote sales, and they don't. People are gonna pay this crazy price for everything, man. It's just I feel like we're kind of peeling back the layers on Sony, right? You got the crossplay fee, you got the store fee. How come we don't hear any of this stuff about Xbox too, man?
You know,
It's just
Tactical
like
brings
this.
up a point here, and I'm wondering, how much of a monopoly that Microsoft has, because that's the assumption that Microsoft has a monopoly, you know. But I have to also keep in mind that Bethesda and the studios, Todd Howard, right? He
Okay.
still has publishing rights of the studios. He can push out games like there's Xbox and then there's Todd Howard. I look at it as two separate companies underneath the umbrella of Xbox. And he and the studios under him can self-publish through Xbox differently than what they do than Xbox 343, Playground Games, and all those guys.
Coalition,
Based on what I understand, they still have total control from that perspective. So when it comes down to acquisitions, we may not understand exactly the terms and conditions, because Microsoft is not saying, hey, you cannot be on Sony, you cannot be on Nintendo. We don't
Yeah.
know. You know what I'm saying? And then there's the devs, the indies. Microsoft is just giving them a platform to be on. whether it's time exclusive or just to be there to promote. And then when you have the sales you need, you can put yourself out to any other platform, Steam, Epic Games, whatever. So there's those, I think, would be the secrets of the trade that nobody will know, right? Because you also have to consider there was another game, Oddworld. Is it Oddworld?
Yes.
That's also
one with
that
the
seemed,
weird looking dude on the cover.
yeah, with the X stitch on his face, on his mouth.
Yeah.
Apparently, there's rumors to say that's also coming to consoles outside of PlayStation. So, does that mean that there's something that Game Pass has of where games that are already being out there, like let's say MLB. If MLB was already placed on PlayStation, let's say within 60 days, the organizers say, hey, we're going to be on Game Pass because we're the publishers of the game. You're just making it, right? If it had came out before, and they made that decision, Xbox is still there. The game has been released on Nintendo Switch. The Xbox Game Pass is still there. So they're making themselves available so they can be just available to everyone. And I think their target market, surprisingly, is doing well, is Japan, which is blowing my mind right now that,
Oh,
the
yeah.
amount of
You go on
pitches-
Twitter.
Ooh,
Right? There's a lot of people buying Series X's, Series S's. It's
I can't
well, you
wait to
see
see
them
more
look online,
Japanese
right?
stuff.
Every time you go online, they're always sold out everywhere, and you look online, people are buying them. So there's love for it, man.
I agree. Microsoft does have a better understanding of the community this gen than last gen.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
definitely for sure.
Hmm. Less TV, more games.
Well, I think one of the more interesting things, I think a lot of these devs put up with it because they hope. I mean, in the end of the day, we can't deny there's so much more PS4s than there are any other console sold out right now,
Mm.
right? Like
Mhm.
that's just a huge audience to have out there. But even with that, devs are still willing to say this because they're not making enough money off of PlayStation, even between the PS4s and PS5s. Because if you think about it, why would you say anything against the company that has the most consoles on TVs and chairs, right? Like you're not going to say nothing because you're hoping for that big return, but they're not making that return there. They're making more return on Switch. They're making a bigger one on Xbox. They're even making a bigger return on Itch. I don't know if you guys know what Itch is.
I heard of it.
Never even heard of that before.
So it's like a another like platform for buying games, like Epic Games or Steam,
Mm-hmm.
but it's pretty known for people like pirating games on. Like it's a lot easier to do that with this. And
wow.
even with this, devs make more money on Itch than they do on PlayStation.
Oh wow.
Mm.
What was it? One of them, one of the guys said that he released a DLC and he got like a 2,000 sales, like units wise sold on the Xbox Game Pass,
Uh-huh.
but only 7 sold DLC wise on the PlayStation Store. That's crazy.
Jeez.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's in the article. Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, like I
Yeah,
said, like
well,
it
that's
really
it,
comes
man.
to people playing on the Game Pass first. They're like, you know what? I like this game a lot. Maybe I'll buy a
you
DLC
get a
for
taste
it,
that you
maybe
want to
I'll buy it.
support it, right?
Yeah.
That's it. For sure. It's like, for me, I know I wouldn't play any of these indie games if they weren't on Game Pass. Like £15 I gotta spend on it. No way.
True.
You know what I'm saying? No way. But I look at if it's on Game Pass, I'm like, well, I don't have to pay anything extra for it. I just download it. I'm like, this is great. I've played it. I've enjoyed it. Oh, what's that? There's more. I can
Oh, yeah.
just look at a DLC. It's £5. I already have the full game. Why not? I'll slap on my Microsoft rewards, get a gift card. I've got the expansion. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like
Oh,
that.
yeah.
It's
I mean,
just like,
perfect example is like my time at Porsche. Like, I would have just looked at the cover of this and be like, nah, I'm good. $30? Nah,
Mhm.
dude, I'm not buying that. But now I adore this game, and I'm even thinking, if this comes off of Game Pass, I'm gonna have to buy it.
yeah, I agree with what Tech's saying. So it looks like Sony kind of give the impression that, hey, look, this is. I think what's their tagline, like it's for the players or whatever. And yeah, I think it is like. I think Sony's marketing has kind of put people into the mindset that PlayStation is the biggest console, it must be the best. But now you're kind of seeing this rebuttal from Microsoft and Xbox with this Game Pass. And you look at Twitter last week, right? I don't know if you saw
Oh
it,
yeah.
Tio, but it was literally everyone was typing Xbox Game Pass, right? And it was everyone was like, I think it was something that was like, hey, Microsoft are paying people to talk about Game Pass. That's crazy. Almost as crazy as buying, getting hundreds of games. You know what I'm saying? Like, and this is it. Like, if your community is pushing back against the opposition and like supporting what your product you're putting out there, then it's like, if they love the product you're providing, they're gonna spend more money naturally.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. I mean, you don't even have to have an Xbox to enjoy Game Pass, right?
Hmm.
You just need a computer. You need a phone at this
Right?
point.
You don't even need a controller sometimes. Like,
Yeah.
I was on my work break just playing Minecraft Dungeons on my phone, right? Or Gears 5. I can play Gears 5 on my mobile device. I didn't even think that was possible.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying?
That's it.
Is it? And Sony didn't even have a Game Pass, let alone the infrastructure of it and everything else what comes along with it. The ultimate perks, the reward system. I just think they don't have the ecosystem built within the infrastructure. And by the time they get that done, Game Pass is already miles ahead.
Exactly.
Drop the mic. Drop the mic. There it is. And
Yeah.
it's
It's just like Netflix, right? Like Netflix is just so ahead because it started first. That's just
Right.
the problem. You could say you don't like Netflix, or like you could say like you're not crazy about a lot of the shows that they have, but they still have that lead, and it's really hard to take it from that point.
Yep.
Exactly.
Even when you have a bunch of IPs. I mean, I don't know the exact numbers, but I would imagine Netflix is still doing a lot better than Disney Plus, and Disney Plus has a lot of content, honestly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like every week on Netflix is something new at this point. It's ridiculous. Not like Disney Plus is bad, but I only find myself on Disney Plus when there was a new Marvel thing on there. I don't care about anything else that's on. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, for sure.
So I feel like with Netflix, there's always something for somebody. I'm sure Disney will get there, but you know,
Yeah, I mean that's why they had to include Hulu, right, in their like deal,
Mhm.
and like National Geographic and all
It's
that.
just nurturing the platform, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, Tactical says this is just some things here. Sony is better at making their system look as though it's the best
Yep.
system. It's almost like brainwashing their players. It's the marketing, man. It's the marketing. Yeah, it looks
Yep.
beautiful. It looks beautiful. And when you get in, it's just subjective. Does it play the way you expect it?
Right.
Sony plays a bit more dirty, while Microsoft gets its.
I know how Microsoft slapped back at Sony right now.
And
Sony's tagline is for the players, but Xbox Game Pass's slogan is for the players. It's like that one. It's like that one Coca-Cola and Pepsi advertisement.
Wow. Microsoft
Listen,
takes
man.
hits for the sake of the players and the devs. I
Oh,
mm,
shit.
I think as at this point, because of Game Pass, the devs are in love with Game Pass. To be honest, like
Yeah, you would be.
there,
sure,
I'm not
that's all.
sure if you know this, but there was a situation to where people thought that the devs would never make money from Game Pass because it's free for $15,
Yeah.
and it came across from one of the guys at the Idea Xbox. It was an interview he was having saying that they actually pay in full, for the production of
Yeah.
games. So when you think about it, yeah, like if
Imagine that.
you, Don CJG, and Dio Zales are making a game and we have a demo and they like it, if there was a budget for that game, they pay that budget off in full,
Right.
and we're
They
just
pay you a check for $75,000.
and it's coming Game Pass day one.
5,000 of that goes towards pizza.
Oh gosh.
We're good to go. You know what I'm saying? We're good to go. You know what I mean? Like, this is where's Sony doing that, right? Where's Sony supporting the devs? Nah, they just want to milk them of money. I don't want to be the Sony basher here, but I
But
just feel
it
like
comes across
the,
where
the narrative goes towards that, right?
well, the devs have to prove themselves to Sony in order for Sony to invest. That's what's coming across to me. It's if you want to be a part of Sony, you have to be as good or better than Naughty Dog or
If
Insomniac.
I'm a 5-man team, how do I compete? We can't.
But that's how it comes across. I mean,
Hmm.
you know, they want that blockbuster feel. Even if you're like a single or double A studio, you know, you have to make the sales, and you have either you're robbing duplicating studios that already exist in PlayStation, or you're outpacing your competition on a other platform, and you're showing those statistics. That's what it comes across to me, because Sony to me doesn't really. It is like Tactical said. I don't think they play fair, where they look at Xbox. Yeah, you're a competition, you know, but I've never seen them thank someone on the opposite end. You know what I'm saying? Like, you always see Phil Spencer and all the other guys
Yeah, he's
be
like, I went
you know,
Ratchet Monk, right? He's like, congrats.
yeah, you know,
Yeah.
but it's kind of like, you know, man, who are we? You know, who are you? You know, like, your Xbox, your competition. You know, so I don't know, man. I just they're kind of a funny company, and the only reason why I'm not really involved with PlayStation on the same level as other folks is because I don't like their business practice. Their games are awesome. I just don't like the business practice, and that's why I stick to Microsoft. But that's just me. That's just me though. So
I think
It's
it's
gonna be
kind of
F1 in
because
3 years.
I think it really does come down to like PlayStation being their biggest piece of the puzzle, right? Like it makes the most money because like when you look at PS4, right? They had to do recovery mode for PS4 from PS3 because 360 was definitely a better all-around console than PS3 was. And I remember PS4's early days. It was pretty indie heavy. There was actually a lot of indie support for PS4 in the beginning. And I think it's kind of funny because it was almost like they were relying on indies, on top of their first party stuff, but indies to help grow the PlayStation a lot and make that money. And now that they've gotten big, it's like they almost like forgotten like, hey, who helped us in the beginning, right? So now we just got to stay at this point. It's almost like they feel like they got to keep up this momentum of these big blockbusters because that's the only way that they're gonna keep making this big money to appease Sony in the end. So
Yeah,
I'm
well,
not
it's,
really
yeah,
sure.
well, it's like I feel like the consumer base now expects just big blockbusters all the time. But I feel that's the good thing with Game Pass. Like, I expect a variety, and I can jump in wherever I want to.
Exactly.
So I don't always expect a huge game. But then I look at a game like 12 minutes. You know what I mean? It's like a small indie game. I'm interested. I wouldn't have bought it, but if it's on Game Pass,
Sure. For
yo,
sure.
I'll get it. Why not?
Well, Flight Simulator's coming out in what,
Right?
17,
I wouldn't have bought Flight Simulator.
not even 17, in
But,
like 20 days.
you know, I've got
Is
it-
20 days? Yeah, 20
Yeah.
days.
I've got it
Yeah.
pre-downloaded on my console now. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm hyped for Flight Simulator.
On your SSD card.
Who would have thought?
Literally, it's for real. It's insane, man.
Is PlayStation's SSD cards working yet?
No,
Not the
don't think
internal,
so, right?
not the interchangeable internal version. Like
Mhm.
you may be able to plug in an SSD from the back or externally, but the internal is still disabled.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
it's about to
Imagine
be a year
that.
in a minute.
That's crazy.
Right.
'Cause I'm
It's-
pretty sure they wanted it fixed by
You
the
have
summer,
to
no?
take your console apart, put in a thing, and it don't even work.
Forget that, man.
They shouldn't be selling a console for $450
I'll tell you what,
or
though.
$500. Discount it. It's not
I'll
worth
leave
it.
it in there to take, instead of damaging the poor M.2 chip by unplugging it, and now the chip no longer works. I'll just leave it in there, man.
So they'll take
man.
Cyberpunk 2077 off the PlayStation Store because it's unfinished, but
They'll launch a console. It don't even work.
But yo, Cyberpunk
Bang.
is back on though. Cyberpunk came back on to.
It is
the
back
system.
on, yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
because it's stable.
Yes.
yeah, I gotta
Wow.
re-download it and see how it looks. But I think like in the
I'll
patch-
re-download it when they drop a patch, the next gen patch.
yeah, I
did.
think that's like in the winter, right?
Didn't-
The
didn't-
next
didn't-
gen patch. I mean, like the next.
Oh, the next gen. The next gen
Yeah,
that wasn't
yeah.
supposed to be
Yeah.
next gen, but
I mean,
next
like
gen.
Yeah, I mean, like this is the optimization. When they did the optimization patch in like a couple months,
Yeah.
I'll re-download it and then check it out. But until
Yeah.
then, Cyberpunk is it's dead to me.
It's weird. Cyberpunk came out and everybody thought it was next gen, and then it just been last gen the whole time.
Yeah, but this is
I
it.
knew it
Not
wasn't.
like I didn't enjoy the game. Like it was alright, but it's just too messy.
I mean, it
Mm.
made sense though because, and I've said this from the beginning. Like they had it in development before Xbox One and PS5 were even announced. So of course it was going to be last gen.
Yeah.
So and the fact that they didn't have, like, I know people like to say like, well, with the new hardware they should have it optimized for that because that's what everyone's doing. But like, it's like not enough people had it. Like, so they should have had it optimized for the old consoles anyway.
You're right.
You know what I mean? Because more people had PS4s than they had PS5s and Xbox Ones together.
You know,
So,
it's a little
this
bit
doesn't
funny
make
too
sense.
because I'm just reiterating off of what was said. Now, Microsoft has realized early on how important it is to support smaller guys and unite them with the games for future growth. You know, and I remember in 360 days that there was something called something indies. It was a
Xbox
yeah,
Arcade and all that.
Xbox Arcade. There we go.
Yep.
And there was like so many good games. There was one that was
it
like
was
Mario
fun.
Kart, you know, and you would play as your avatars in a Mario Kart type experience.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
Doritos Crash Course and all that. Like,
yeah. I mean,
legendary games.
I mean, Microsoft probably wouldn't have came up with that, but I mean, the community of devs who believe in a 360 definitely brought in something that was very iconic for the 360, and that would have been their support for devs, definitely. So to see that happening now through Game Pass is awesome. It's a different level. That Game Pass is on a different level than where it was on 360 with the Xbox Arcade. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty nice. All right, guys, it is 11:10 Eastern Standard Time. You know.
Oh wow.
What do you mean it, Rice? It's 4:10.
Yeah, okay. In the UK. In the UK. In the UK. No disrespect to my brothers and sisters over at the pond over there in the UK side.
We
but-
feel great disrespect.
Yeah. Nah. But you want to thank Tactical Gamer, Bobby Light, and everybody else that has viewed the podcast. We are here every Saturday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And what time in the UK?
We start at 3 p.m. in the UK.
3 p.m. in the UK.
Nobody else matters.
Oh, come on, bro. Come on. We got time zone calculators.
We
here,
all
please.
know we are a UK-based podcast.
You're smacking me today, dude. Like, yo. Anyways, thank you very much for passing through and checking out the podcast. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and we look forward to seeing you guys next week.
Peace.
Thank you guys.